Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Let me just start with introducing myself. I do see some of my students already in the audience, so it's good to see them here. But for those of you who do not know me, let me just begin with my introduction and my firm's introduction. So, my name is Surbi Kumar, and I am the founder and the chief mentor at the Dreamcatchers. We are primarily an education consulting firm and we are based out of Mumbai, India. But we have been fortunate enough to help students and aspirants across India as well as in the Middle East as well. Our mission is very clear and straightforward. We want to assist students in realizing their dream of obtaining quality and best fit education. Now, you would wonder, how do we do that? So, through our services and by deploying different methods, we try to help students from grade ninth onwards up to even their masters as well. So, primarily for grade ninth and grade 10 students, it's important that they choose the right subject combination and the right stream as well. So, with international boards and ICSC, as well, and to an extent CBSE now following the national education policy, there are plethora of subject options which the students have, and sometimes there is a problem of plenty. So really, our services help them decide which subjects are best aligned for the probable career paths they are considering. For grade 11th and grade 12 students, we help them in the course shortlisting, and depending upon their courses, we help them create a college list as well. Now, when we particularly talk about services, primarily again for grade 8 to 12th, we start with something which is called as a psychometric assessment test. But I would just want to mention that this test is something which is only conducted on need basis or case to case basis. And the goal is that the child or the aspirant, they take the test in the right environment, in the right way, because the output helps us in assessing their aptitude, their work interest area, and even to an extent their like foundational personality traits as well. Combining these three dimensions, it helps us like really suggest them different career options as well. Of course, their academic performance, that plays an important role too. Through our personalized and kind of individualized services and counseling sessions, wherever needed, we try to provide a detailed action plan. But for each and every child, we get into the process of career discovery and career guidance. And of course, towards the closing of the entire exercise, we try to help them with different career pathways and the educational pathways to reach those careers as well. We also have our services in the higher education admission guidance space, and here we cover both, Indian universities, primarily the new age universities, as some of you would know that their process is kind of much more nuanced than just the academic grades or just entrance exams, and even outside India, both for undergraduate or like bachelors and also for masters. Now, the higher education admission, space itself in many of the countries, it's slightly complicated for a student to understand. So we really help them with the entire, process, doing complete hand holding, depending upon the country which they are thinking to apply to in terms of universities. We help in the profile assessment, discovery, and elevation in the authentic way, kind of just marrying it to the inherent strengths of the student, and wherever there is a gap, suggesting how those gaps could be filled. Of course, these days, students and even families get carried away by the rankings or the Ivy League as such, but it's very important that we look beyond that. So that's where we try to do a best fit college mapping for the student too. Many of the universities will have a lot of essay prompts to write, and even statement of purpose. That's where we provide guidance to the students so that they can really put forward a compelling piece of application, putting everything together. We also help their recommenders in terms of again providing guidance how to write or craft a recommendation letter for, like, again, for that particular student. So that's also a service which we provide. Of course, education is getting expensive these days, so scholarship and financial aid comes really as a support to the right family. So we also provide scholarship, and wherever there is a need to, fill the gap between the college tuition fees and what the family can afford, we also work on the financial aid applications as well. Wherever the process requires interview, head interview preparation, they have like mini presentations and presentations and whatnot. So we also help the child in, right, again, preparing and putting their best foot forward there. If you're applying for international destinations, visa is a very important part of the process. So we provide guidance there, and we have collaborated with, visa experts to help in end-to-end process too. So I hope this helps all of you to really understand our services better. But now let's dive into the session. And before I invite our guest speaker for the day, let me first try to just gauge the awareness of our students and families out here. And specifically, this question is for our students here. So, have you or did you come across management consulting as a career option for the first time, like through our marketing material that, hey, like we are trying to host a career awareness webinar on management consulting, or kind of you were aware about it already? So, if you can just select the right option here and send it across, and this is in like webinar mode, so I would be the one who would be receiving your responses. Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll give just another 5 to 6 seconds here. So, in the interest of time, let me see. Okay. Almost 70% of you have heard about it, but you don't know what it really means. Okay, great. And 30% is no. Okay, so I am pretty confident that through today's session you will get a very good understanding about this profession, and that will help you make an informed decision as well. So just to set the context here, like who a management consultant is, and this might be a very simplified piece to make you understand what exactly it is. But of course we have Anirudh today with us, and through the fireside chat we'll dive deeper into it. So basically, a management consultant, he could be a generalist or a specialist who helps in solving complex business problems. They identify, or they are like onboarded to solve the challenges of a specific company. They followed a structured approach, try to, break down the problem, understand it in a greater detail, and address it through implementable solutions as such. Okay, so this is something which I borrowed from caseinterview.com, and I thought this will relate to majority of you in terms of understanding and setting the context here. With that, and without any further ado, I am pleased to invite Anirudh here. Anirudh, good morning. Welcome to our webinar today.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Surabhi. Thanks a lot. And
Okay,
good morning to all of you.
great. So Anirudh is a partner at McKinsey and Company, and of course, McKinsey is a big name, and it's a top global firm when it comes to management consulting or business consulting as such. So I'm sure, like the parents who have joined this session today would have heard about it well. But let's first maybe give you the floor, Anirudh. Maybe you yourself to our audience, and then we will get into the questions.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Anirudh. I'm a partner with McKinsey. Been with McKinsey for now almost 16 years. And prior to that, I did my MBA from IIM Bangalore. And then I did my undergrad from NIT Trichy in computer science. So it was quite a difference from being a techie computer science geek to getting into the thick of business problems and solving what sometimes our clients call the toughest problems that they're facing. Happy to be here, and Surabhi, thanks for inviting me.
Great, our pleasure. And for the audience here, so again, I will ask the Anirudh, any of you questions and put it in the chat or Q&A box. I've already received one. So I will those questions Anirudh or to bake it in my questions itself. And if any of you, if you would want to go live, just mention it in the chat and I will just enable the settings for you. So right now it's in webinar mode. So that's why you cannot like really speak as such, but I can enable the settings if needed. Okay. With that, Anirudh, can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but your video seems to be paused, at least for me. Let me check.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. But you can hear me okay? Then we can
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
continue.
I can hear you. So yeah, let me just begin with my first question. So just walk us through your career journey and how you actually found your way into management consulting. And did you always kind of wanted to pursue management consulting, or maybe, and you kind of indicated as well that you were a techie. So did you really explore other career paths and then eventually decided that maybe this is your calling?
Yeah. No, so as I said, I started off doing my engineering in computer science from NIT Trichy. Had managed to secure good scores in the entrance exam. Then it used to be called REC Trichy at that time, and it used to be through the state entrance exams at that time. Now, of course, it's I think JE or whatever it goes through.
Yeah.
Um, so different world then, but got into engineering at that time. I did not even know what management consulting is. Probably towards the end of engineering, I had heard about it for the first time, hearing some of our alumni going into that and so on and so forth. But again, no, like pretty much like what we heard in the morning in the poll, right? Have heard of the term but don't really understand it. That was the kind of
Mhm.
situation when I was kind of towards wrapping up my engineering. But MBA as a course of education was clear as an option, right? So it was really two options that we were looking at, all of us looking at either go down deeper into engineering, which meant either a GRE or something else, or you go towards the MBA side where you're looking at a GMAT or a CAT or whatever from Indian MBA's perspective. So those were really the options that I was looking at, and if I look at just my experience doing like the 4 years of engineering, I really enjoyed my computer science courses. And the
Okay.
parts that I really enjoyed the most were around algorithms and so on. And the reason I enjoyed it because it's algorithms are in some way the core of problem solving, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you take a
Mm-hmm.
tough problem, you figure out what's the solution to be, and then you put an algorithm behind it which can solve it. And then that later translates into a code. It becomes a product. It becomes a service or whatever, right? So you do that. So as anyone else, I was thoroughly confused between should I go deeper into computer science, should I go towards an MBA, and so on and so forth. So I did kind of take a pause. Then I said, okay, let me take up a job. I got into Oracle from campus, and we were kind of picked up to work on one of their products. And
Okay.
there, I said, okay, let me at least try it out. Product development was considered to be the more premium of the lot. There was, of course, a
Yeah.
little bit of a perception saying if you are going into a TCS or an Infosys, it's services, it's little below par. If you're doing product, then you're working on cutting edge and solving the toughest of the problems. So product engineering or product design or product development was what kind of excited me, and it was closer to the whole problem solving algorithms and so on and so forth. So I picked that up. Worked for 2 years, 1 year in Oracle, 1 year in Adobe, the guys who make PDF. And then along the way, I think I realized that MBA is probably my cup of tea. While I enjoy problem solving, I don't want it to be restricted only to the software part of it, right? So I would want to see much broader set of problems, broader set of human problems, business problems, operational problems, and so on, and would love to tackle them. And then over the 2 years, I
Okay.
think it became very clear that MBA is my way to go, and thankfully also cleared CAT by then. So got into IIM Bangalore. So that's been a little bit of a journey around how I went from being a geek to an MBA. Management consulting, I think, to your question earlier, became clearer only when I started preparing for CAT seriously, um, which was probably a year after my engineering, and when I was at Oracle and then Adobe. That was the time I started preparing for my MBA. Of course, we would go to these coaching sessions or whatever to hone our maths and quantitative aptitude and all of that. And in those sessions, there were a lot of people, coaches, counselors, and all who would talk about different things that people would do after an MBA. And that's the first
Mm-hmm.
time I kind of understood what management consulting is, not just kind of knowing what management consulting is. And interestingly, even before I got into IIM Bangalore, I was actually quite clear that management consulting is what I want to do after my MBA. So I looked
Really?
at various options. I looked at like investment banking, private equity, like management consulting, more closer to industry, sales and marketing roles, strategy roles, and so on and so forth. And of the lot, that what kind of excited me the most was management consulting, and obviously McKinsey is the number one company that comes to mind when you think about management consulting. Of course, there is BCG, there is Bain, there are
Yeah.
other organizations as well, but yeah. So management consulting and McKinsey both became much clearer even before I got into MBA, and thankfully my MBA led to that path. So that way I was quite satisfied at the end of my MBA.
Understood. Great. Thank you so much, Anirudh, for taking us through your journey. So, given you touched upon your educational background and the choices you made, I think I'll ask a question which even one of the student, her name is Sangeeta Jha, she has also asked a similar question. And now, when you have been in the industry for a very long time, I'm pretty sure you would be recruiting, hiring as well, and like making your team too. So maybe you can reflect upon that and tell us your thoughts there. So firstly, as per you, what kind of educational background is typically required for a career in consulting? And is consulting only for people with business degrees, or can students from other backgrounds get into it and thrive? So that's primarily my question. And Sangeeta here, Sangeeta Jha has a pointed question that I am pursuing my BA in political science from Delhi University, and I'm interested in management consulting. Do I stand a chance?
By the way, is the audio and the video clear now, or is still wobbly?
Can I can see you, I can hear you, but I cannot see you at my end at least. Can
I
someone
don't
from
know
the
what.
audience confirm if you, because I think my internet connection is fine here. Do you want to rejoin, Anirudh?
Can try doing that. Why not? Just give me a minute. Let me try
Sure.
doing that.
Sure. And in the interim, I'll remind the students and even parents here, you can like, again, keep putting your questions in the chat or Q&A box, and I'll certainly pick it up as well. Okay. Yeah, Smita, we will be talking about the, progression, career progression. Okay. And if in the chat box, if till the time Anirudh joins us back, if you can also put like, are you pursuing your high school or are you pursuing your undergrad? Just put it in the chat box for me to just understand as well. Okay. So many of you are high school students. Okay. Great. So yeah, majority of our questions are kind of curated in a way that it will help you high school students to understand this profession better. Okay, we have Anirudh back. Hey Anirudh, now I can see you.
Perfect. Maybe some complication between Zoho and Google Chrome, it seems.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay now? The audio and the video?
Yeah. So I'm also on Google Chrome itself, and now I can hear you very well and see you too.
Perfect. All right. So we were talking about what kind of educational background uh, would typically be the best suited for management consulting, right? Um, See, I would say if you ask me what's the best kind of academic background, I would say it is MBA, right?
Yes.
A business degree, right? Basically, it could be an MBA, it could be a PGDM, which is postgraduate degree in management, or equivalents of that, right? So those would be the best suited. But
Okay.
does it mean that other educational backgrounds are not welcome at all? I would say absolutely no. All, in fact, all paths of academic backgrounds are actually very welcome because you want to bring diversity of problem solving, diversity of perspectives into the organization, because that really helps us in solving different and complex problems effectively, right? And end of the day, as we discussed, and so you very rightfully pointed out the steps in how management consultants work. You take a business problem which the company is struggling with, either they will come up with it or you will help them surface it. Then you put a structured approach around how you want to tackle that problem. Sometimes the problem itself is clear at the highest level, which means I know my manufacturing productivity is poor, but I don't know why it is poor. Is it poor because my people are less productive? It is poor because my quality of materials is bad, or is it poor because of something else? Right. So we welcome diverse perspectives into the organization, and so does everyone else in terms of management consulting. So if you're doing a batch undergrad in philosophy or psychology or whatever, you're very welcome. But it does make it a little difficult for you coming from very different backgrounds because you don't understand the business way of thinking. So,
Yes.
so that's the only catch, right? It takes you a little longer to get used to understanding how a business works. How does a P&L work in a business? P&L is the profit and loss statement of the company. How are you making money? Where you're losing money, and so on and so forth. So understanding that takes a little bit of time. So that's the only difference. If I talk about specifically McKinsey, we actually go out and hire undergrads from different IITs, law colleges, and in fact, undergrad institutions like SRCC and so on. People do join us from all organizations, institutions all the time. What that program is called is a business analyst program. So typically you come in as a little younger, in a younger profile called business analyst. You work as a business analyst for 2 years, exactly for you to learn the and understand the business a little better. Then you have a choice after that. And this is specifically for McKinsey, but I think most other organizations, Bain, BCG, AT Kearney, etc., have similar constructs. After 2 years, you have a choice. Either you could leave and go and do an MBA because you feel that that will add value to your life and you could do different things beyond management consulting as well, or you could actually stay back and become a associate or a consultant basically. So that's a little bit of in-house MBA, if I may say so, and hence in that context, as I said earlier, every walk of life is very welcome, right? Whichever academic background you're coming from.
Got it. I think that really helps, and I hope Sangeeta it helps answer your question. And just to add on to what Anirudh just said, or kind of like, because I am an SRCC alum myself, and I am talking about like 20 years ago, even during that time, for our placement days, At least I recall McKinsey coming into the campus, AT Carney coming into the campus for the analyst or associate's role itself. And of course, like SRCC is a commerce college, so we had a lot of other consulting firms coming for even different roles beyond consulting as well. But definitely, I've experienced it myself. So, Sangeeta, you're pursuing your political science from Delhi University. So, yeah, it might be a longer path, but maybe worth trying for. Okay, I will take one more question, and actually, it is a related question itself, Anirudh. So maybe we'll try to tackle here itself. So Samriddhi is asking, does any deep domain or subject knowledge help, or are consultants generalists or specialists?
Okay, so I would say both. Consultants are both generalists and specialists, and that's also the need of the hour, right? So if you go back maybe like 30, 40 years, consultants used to be only generalists, and the reason for that was there was enough functional or domain expertise that existed in the company itself, and they would want somebody who is a generalist to kind of come in and show them the mirror, and that used to be the role of the management consultant till about like 20 years back or so. Around the time I started, which is about 15, 16 years back, we started seeing our clients come back and say, hey, listen, we have also now upgraded in our capabilities, right? We understand the basics of management well. We understand how to do procurement better. We understand how to do strategy better. In fact, many organizations over the years set up their own internal in-house strategy teams or business transformation teams, right? A 20-member team, a 30-member team, which would little bit mimic what a management consultant or a McKinsey would come in and do. So they said, hey, we are upgrading our capabilities. Of course, so you come back and tell us even the management or the business part, how can we do better? How can we do business transformation better? But more importantly, we want you to come and tell us how do we even innovate and push the thinking on our own function, our own industry. So that was the place where consultants like us then said, hey, listen, we need to also kind of push the needle on this, or push to the next horizon on this. And that is where we started hiring a lot of specialist people who would have 10 years or 15 years of industry experience and then come into management consulting rather than just homegrown direct out of undergrad or a grad college and so on, like someone like me, right? Basically, I am a generalist, but we started hiring a lot of these people. What also happened is we within the organic or homegrown talent, we also gave them a choice. So once you're like 10 years into McKinsey and you are getting to be a like a partner or an expert or so, we actually gave them a choice. You could continue to be a generalist and be a partner, or you could actually become a expert or a specialist on some topic which is like you're passionate about and become an expert partner, right? So both in terms of bringing in talent which had a lot of expertise and depth in the industry, as well as grooming the in-house talent to have a choice, is what we have done over the last 15 years. And that's
Understood.
actually helped a lot. So to your question, are there only generalists or specialists? It's both. And in fact, the share of specialists and the experts have only gone up over the years. It was probably 20 years back. It was probably 10% 10 years back, and it is now like 30%, right? Or maybe even 40%. So it's almost now becoming at par with the generalists, right? So that's how you should think about it. Now, however, if you're coming right out of college and joining McKinsey, quite unlikely you will join as an expert, right? Quite likely you will join as a generalist, unless, for example, you're coming with a very deep and specific expertise or course in some area. So, for example, if Surbhi says I am a commerce graduate and a CA, Surbhi, right? Then you could say, hey, I am actually coming into the corporate finance function as a specialist, because that is the deep expertise I have. That is the only thing I've studied in the last 5 years, 6 years of my life. Somebody could come in, for example, with a PhD in data science and say, I want to be a specialist or an expert in AI, with the entire tech and AI and Gen AI kind of taking the world by storm. We are hiring a lot of specialists from that in those areas, right? A lot of specialists in data science, a lot of specialists in data engineering, Gen AI, and so on, agentics. We are hiring a lot of functional experts as well. But then you need to have that very specific course that you've done, right, to come in as a specialist.
Great. Thanks so much for that response, Anirudh. So basically, generalist as well as kind of like a domain or industry specialist as well. There is room for both. And I hope Samriddhi asked that question. That helps get you the right perspective there. So now let me move on to diving slightly deeper into the role of a management consultant. So what do you do on a day-to-day basis? And of course, I understand it can differ from an entry level person to like a mid level, but maybe seeing the audience here, it would really help to see what is the role and responsibility primarily in first 3 to 5 years of the job per se, and maybe what are the broad roles and responsibilities for a management consultant at entry level.
You typically start as a junior consultant, right? Junior consultant if you're coming from MBA path, and like a business analyst if you're coming from undergrad directly. And the roles are dramatically different. They're similar. So if I were to offer in a life of a junior consultant or a business analyst, um, you would typically be staffed, as we call it, on a project or an engagement. So an engagement could be any problem statement that we have agreed with the client on. So, for example, I co-lead a life sciences or pharma practice in India for McKinsey. And most of my clients are like pharma companies, right? So I would be sitting with the CEO or the chairman of a pharma company, and he would say, "Hey, listen, um, we are trying to grow our US footprint. How do I go about that?" Right? And we would set up a team. So the junior consultant or the business analyst would be part of such a team, right? It would be a team of like 3, 4, or 5 people, depending on how big the project is or the small the project is. So you would typically get up in the morning, get into your Oryx cab. Oryx is our vendor who gives us the cabs, and also you will get into the cab, probably get on a call along with your manager and so on, and plan your day. Right, so that's probably at whatever 9 a.m. or so. You are in your cab, rushing towards your client office, and on a call with your manager to kind of see what stuff you need to do. You reach your client office, you have a few meetings with the clients to say, "Hey, listen, I've done some analysis on your performance, let's say for your US business. These are some of the challenges I see." So you sit with them and have a lot of discussion around saying, "Okay, my understanding is this from all the analysis. Do you agree, disagree?" And the client, it's lot iterative, right? Because you have to work very closely with the clients to make sure you understand their context, their problem. So you would be kind of jostling with them. Sometimes the clients will be very nice. They will be working with you closely to kind of help you get to a better answer. Sometimes they will be very nasty because they'll be defensive. They may lose their job. They may look bad in front of their bosses, and they will make your life hell, right? So both of those kind of things happen. Thankfully for me, in the last 16 years, I've had more good clients than bad clients. And that is why I still continue to be here. And I hope that's the case for most of the people. But that's what you would do for a few hours. You'll be sitting with the client, showing them the analysis, showing them some of the stuff around what you understand of their business problems. Take their inputs, come back, and then maybe you might be post lunch. You might be sitting and again crunching numbers, kind of baking in the inputs that they have shared, and doing a lot of analysis, a lot of Excel work, a lot of analysis. Maybe some client may have asked you saying, "Okay, I understand how I am doing it as company A, but can you tell me what company B, C, and D are doing?" So you might sit down, and there is a back-end research team we have. So you will reach out to them, we'll sit down with them on a call or whatever and say, "Hey, listen, I'm trying to profile this company B, C, and D, and how did they tackle their US problem or growth in their US business?" And then you kind of build a few case studies. Then in the maybe late in the afternoon, you may sit down with your manager to say, "Okay, this is what the client said. This is how I've refined my answer. This is how I built a case study with along with the research team. Does it look okay?" So he or she will do a little bit of a pressure test for you. Um, your partner on the study, like someone like myself or like a younger partner or a more senior partner, could kind of join for some what we call team problem solving, where we all get together, we look at different parts and say, "Okay, the case study looks good, but what is the implication for the client? What do we want to recommend to them?" is that recommendation logically robust? Is it practically kind of doable? Is the client excited about it? Will it get us the impact that we are looking for? So if we want the US business to grow from like 100 million to 200 million, will it really get us there? So that is what we do as what we call team problem solving. Everybody comes together, the manager, the different consultants, and we get to an answer. And then in the evening, you may have a review or a presentation with the sponsor, with the senior client leader, let's say the CEO or the head of the US business or so. So these consultants, along with myself or the manager, would be kind of then presenting to the client. The client would be saying, okay, I like this. The sponsor, the senior client, basically, you actually get the opportunity to present directly. It's not someone else presenting your work, right? So it's a lot of senior client exposure that you get from day one. Right, so you are presenting your findings to the senior client. The senior client may say, hey, I like this, may say I don't like this, or could say these two things are okay, but this one thing, can you go back and do a better job of? So all of that can happen, right? And then by late evening or so, you're all exhausted. It's probably 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. and you would typically go out for a team dinner. So the entire teams get together, has some dinner together, maybe catch some drinks if they're excited about it, or if there's tons of work the next day, then you just grab a quick dinner and then head back to your homes. Some people are still on calls while they are driving back, or rather being driven back to their homes because it's a hectic schedule. And then this whole rhythm kind of repeats, right? So it's very action packed from morning till evening. Lots of meetings, lots of brainstorming, lots of discussions, a lot of presentations, and sometimes super late nights as well. Like there are engagements which we call diligences, where you are kind of assessing an asset on how good or bad it is from a business point of view. Those are very time crunched. Probably in 3 weeks, you have to understand their entire business and what's good, what's bad. And those can be scary long kind of duration. So people are working like 14 hours, 16 hours a day. There have been times where I have been sitting in the team room and not realizing when it is a day or it's a night. So those kind of crazy things happen as well, but that's probably rare. Right? It probably happens once in a year, twice in a year, and so on. So that's a little bit of what happens in terms of the work you do. So lots of hard work, lots of fun, and lots of senior client interactions, a lot of problem solving. So those are the ways I would characterize um, um, the typical day for a consultant.
Thank you so much for that, Anirudh. And maybe it is a good segue even to talk about, two sides of the same coin in terms of the rewards which this profession has, both like monetary, non-monetary, as well as what are the different challenges too.
Yeah. I guess if I think about rewards, it would be three, four things, right? You get to work on some of the toughest problems, which the clients believe they can't solve on their own, right? And that is why they are coming and paying big dollars for top consulting firms to come in and solve. You don't often in any career at the beginning of your career get to solve such tough problems, right? Typically, when you have spent 20 years, 25 years, you start becoming like a head of a department or head of a business. You solve such problems if you're in a regular industry role. Let's say you are working with a pharma company or you're working with an automotive company or whatever. But here you're solving the toughest problems that they believe they can't solve. So I think that's the most exciting one. That personally got me the most excited. The second thing is, as I said earlier, you get to work with very senior clients from day one, right? So you really get to see the perspective of how a CEO or a COO or a CSO, a chief strategy officer, thinks about a business and a company and its priorities, right? So you get to see that again very early on. In any other situation, you may not be able to see that, right? Because somebody who's 20 years or 30 years older to you, sitting in some corporate office somewhere, setting the whole strategy for the organization, and you're just following it. Here, you get to see senior leaders in action. You get to learn a lot how different people lead organizations, solve tough, solve complex and very sensitive problems. Right. So how do you do all of that? The third thing I would say is which for me was a big realization once I got into this profession. I always understood the the whole the excitement around this profession in terms of tough problems, senior clients and all. But what I realized is a very valuable thing is when at the end of a project, and particularly if it is a big, massive transformation project, a client comes and says thank you. That thank you is really, really touching and really, really humbling, right? There have been so many instances for me over the last 15, 16 years where people have come and said, we couldn't have done it without you. What you made happen in a year, we would have probably either it at all, maybe take many, many years to get it done. You got all of it done in 1 year. Thank you for being so honest and so caring for us. You showed us the mirror, you showed us what our challenges are, and also made us successful, right? You did not come in here and make us look bad, right? Or make us unsuccessful or lose our jobs, right? So those thank yous matter a lot, right? That makes one feel that you've touched lives more than from a business point of view. The fourth thing I would call out is just the a little bit of this jazz of traveling on and off, sitting business class, sitting in lounges. Of course, not everybody may like it. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my batchmates who joined with me at McKinsey. Of course, initially you don't get to travel business class. Once you become a partner, you do. But all of that is fun for me. At least I enjoy travel. I enjoy meeting new people. And so on and so on. All of those are actually joys for me personally. And finally, I would say the compensation is not bad paid well. It's a professional services business. The industry, like professional services, as you can all imagine, are well-paying segments, right? So you make uh, so all of those four things would be things that really have attracted me and kept me here for the years that I've been here. I guess in terms of challenges, I think it's not free of challenges, right? Let's be very clear. Um, as I was saying earlier, long hours. There are instances where I've been working 16 hours a day, 14 hours a day. There's been the whole day, night, everything has been a blur, right? So sometimes it could be really, really hectic, and so on and so on. Second challenge I would say is, end of the day, you're an advisor, right? You're advising and you're helping a client do things better, cheaper, faster, whatever, right? But it is the clients who are taking the actions.
Yeah.
So if, for example, I could go and give 5 advices and the client says, hey, listen, I'm not going to do these 5, then there's not much I can do about it, right? Other than trying to convince. Of course, I can show him or her what others have done, other industries have done. I can show the business logic. I can say this is how it will create benefit for you. But if the guy says, hey, listen, sorry, I'm not going to do it, then you are a little bit stuck, right? So you are still trying to, so you have to come up with a great answer, but then you have to spend equal amount of time convincing the other person to kind of act on that answer. Some 80% of the time people will agree because that is why they have brought you in, but 20% of the time people don't agree, right? And those 20% of the time it does feel very bad, right? Saying, okay, I put in 3 months of sleepless nights, or 2 months of sleepless nights. That's in front of me doesn't want to move, doesn't want to do anything. So becomes very disappointing, right? So that's the other challenge.
If I
Travel
may
again,
interrupt you here for
yeah,
a
of
bit,
course.
because you touched upon challenges here. So, what's your mantra to navigate through these challenges? Primarily, like, of course, it's an advisory role, and if the client is not getting convinced and it's disappointing. So, again, getting pepped up for the next project, how do you navigate through that?
No, it's not an easy one. You're right. So there are two things, right? One is you don't give up so easily. Even when the client is not convinced, you don't give up, right? And there is in at least McKinsey, we have what we call 9 ways of influencing, right? So like it. Like even in our Hindi parlance, I'm assuming not everybody on the call might be well versed in Hindi, but uh, we say, right, Kam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. So there are four ways in which you can influence someone. You can either give them a carrot, which is Dam. You could or give them some Kam, which is this will get you this. If it is not cash, it is something else. Dand is
Mm-hmm.
you punish. If you don't do this, you will get punished.
Mm-hmm.
Or you say, okay, if you do this, you will be better than your neighbor, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Kam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. So, right? So those are four ways of influencing. In McKinsey, we have 9 ways of influencing.
Interesting.
Um, so there are different. So first and foremost, you don't give, right? And hence you have to be ready, and you at sometimes you use the person's boss to, and sometimes you use other colleagues to, sometimes you just make a personal connect. Many times the person you're trying to influence is also a person who's got a son or a daughter who's doing political science in Delhi University, and you strike a rapport, and then you say, okay, I like we become friends, and then you start influencing the person. So that's first one, right? The second one is, but there will be some people who will still not get influenced, right?
Yeah.
So then what do you do with that? Then you do what the Britishers say: keep calm and move on.
Got it. Got it. Thanks. Wonderful. So, Anirudh, I have got a question from Arav, and that was somewhere like in my question repository as well, but it was like somewhere, towards the end as such. But let me take it, Arav, right away, because that's an interesting one, and we are trying to get an understanding of this piece across like different industries as such.
Hmm.
So, Anirudh, how do you think technology and particularly artificial intelligence has influenced or will influence the role of management consultants? And that's pretty much what Arav has also asked. How has AI affected the consulting industry?
I would say it's it's impacting it a lot, right? So let me take two lenses to it, right? So if I look at my clients, and as I said, I lead our life sciences and pharma practice. So if you go to our clients, which are the typical pharma companies that you would come across, they are a little bit laggards on technology, far a bit of a
Okay.
laggard on technology. So if I look at five, I would have a lot more of the conversations around how to adopt technology, how much to adopt, how far to adopt, so on and so forth, right? This is a conversation with the CEOs. This is a conversation with their boards. Saying how much money should we allocate to technology adoption? How far should we go? Should we replace half of our finance function with agentics, which is agentic AI, and which means today if I have 300 people in my finance function, it should become 150, right? Or maybe something in quality control or something else somewhere else, right? How aggressively should, so that's a lot of thinking, a lot of work that we are doing with our clients on this topic, right?
Yeah.
And not just conversations, but real work, right? Real projects where we have helped them transform parts of their functions, parts of their ways of working, and so on and so. The other part is how is it changing the way management consulting itself works, right? Because frankly, when I'm like the example I gave earlier, the diligence example, right, where we are trying to assess a company in a very short span of 3-4 weeks to understand what is good, what is bad. Um, Typically, it would have taken me 3-4 weeks because I would have to go into each of their business segment in detail, look at who's the comparable business in the industry, build those case studies, and compare their performance, the target company's performance, with each of these comparators. Now, with Gen AI, with the large language models and all, profiling, like breaking down the business and profiling the right comparators, probably takes me like a day or two, because all of that can be, of course, not everything is open AI or chat GPT. You have to go to specific LLM models and so on. In fact, we have our own LLM model internally at McKinsey. We call it Lily.
Okay.
Right, so you go to all of that, and what would have taken you 2 weeks gets done in 1 to 2 days or even lesser, right? So So if you see, a lot of this crunching has happened. Now, obviously, our clients are also aware of that, right? And they're saying, hey, why do you need to do a 4-week project on this? Can you not do it in 2 weeks? Why do I need you for this? Because I can also get this answer from this, right? So it's a genuine threat to the profession. But the way we are responding to this, and most consultants are, and our clients are actually appreciating it. We are also growing with it. We are saying, hey, listen, if we are like the way we talked about the finance function, saying, can my finance function be 50% agents and 50% actual human beings? We are saying, hey, listen, if a project was supposed to be 4 weeks or 4 months, we believe we can actually do it in 2 weeks. And with the technology and so on at our end to do things faster, better, cheaper. So you don't need to necessarily hire us for something more than 2 weeks here, right? And clients are really appreciative of that because at the end of the day, they do need the advice, right? And they don't want to rely only on the output that comes from AI, Gen AI. Understand, Gen AI are what do you call coded or designed to answer. They are not designed to answer. That's a big difference. So they have, so if you ask the question, you will get an answer, right? These are the three things I don't know because I have not seen it in my database anywhere. But it will give you some answer. Now, sometimes that answer can be misleading. So where I will continue to, so if I now project this out 5 years out in the future or 10 years out in the future, what the clients will continue to value is three things. One, proprietary benchmarks and insights. Right, which consultants. So if the consultant can't bring it, that consultant is not going to be successful. Right. The second thing the clients will continue to value is business judgment. End of the day, they're looking for judgment from people who have done similar transactions, done similar work, done similar transformations, and so on and so forth. And third, they will value is change and what we call change management. Because end of the day, getting the people to change and do things differently, and especially in a world where there's so much technology, is very, very difficult. So those are the three things clients will continue to value extremely and pay big dollars for when it comes to consulting. But yeah, some of the things that you may have just kind of pushed through because the client capability was very low and so on and so forth, and you could have got some billings out of it, may not happen in the future, 5 years out, 10 years out, because the client's maturity and technology adoption will reduce the parity between a mature client and a not so mature client.
Correct.
Right. So that's how I see the role of that is how I see AI and technology kind of impacting both our clients and their needs, which is actually getting us a lot more work, and it is also changing the way we work and how you could see this profession evolve 5 years out and 10 years out. But of course, this is just a little bit of crystal ball gazing. Things could pan out differently as well.
It's a fast evolving space itself. So no one has like a black and white answer to these things, right? So I hope, Arav, it helps get answer to your question now. Anirudh, it got me thinking when you were responding around like the way things change for consultants particularly, which is primarily the turnaround time or efficiency. Now, given we have students who are looking or attending this session primarily from a career standpoint, and the way they were starting their entry-level positions earlier, or the kind of work they were getting from, like, say, senior consultants or partners, it might change as well. So my question particularly is that there are definitely like skills and competencies which are needed to thrive in a profession, and over time you will build it as well. But now, when someone straight out of say grad school, what kind of competencies you would look in this changing era, right? So that they can, really start contributing to the role or to the project to which they have been staffed as such. And like, what's that change between before AI and now when AI is, right? Because at an entry level, you do much of the basic work, research, so on and so forth, right? And maybe beautify the decks as well to an extent. So what's your perspective there?
Yeah, I would actually start with talking about what will not change, right? I
Okay,
think it's
great.
important to keep that in mind. What will not change is the heart and core of management consulting is always going to remain that tough problems to be cracked, which clients or AI or whatever can't solve. So those are
Okay.
the problem solving will continue to remain very, very relevant. Second is the
Mm-hmm.
business acumen, right? What creates value, what creates growth, creates synergies and savings. That business judgment, business acumen will always remain important. Third is the need to build trusted and deep client relationships. The whole
Okay.
thank you, you remember, the AI is not gonna get the thank you, right? You are gonna get the thank you, because you are the human in the loop. If I talk about the new age jargon that people talk about, AI in the loop and human in the loop, right? So you are the human in the loop. So the human relationships will remain very important. Those trusted counseling relationships will remain very important. So these are the three things which will remain very, very pertinent, right? Even
Mhm.
5 years out, 10 years out. What will
Okay.
change is actually exactly to what you said, right? Beautifying the deck, the grunt work, the beautifying the deck, the beautifying the pages, the basic research, which in any case, we at McKinsey at least, and I know other consultants do that as well, we outsource it to our knowledge center. So a lot of that knowledge centers will start shrinking because a lot of that outsourcing will now happen from these consultants, not to the knowledge center and the research associates sitting there, but to the AI, Gen AI, and agentic models, right? So that's a lot of grunt work will go away. What is the other thing that will go away? The other thing that will go away is um, people feeling satisfied with just a basic answer. So, for example, if the problem was the same, I want to grow my US footprint, and the answer was launch more products. Now, that basic answer everybody can get from an LLM, right? So, if you go back with that basic answer to your client or to your manager or your partner, you will get laughed off. So, what it means is you need to build from where AI stops and say, okay, can I bring some business judgment? Can I bring some domain knowledge? So, for a pharma company in the US, what are the product segments that are growing and so on and so forth? Can I bring that perspective into the discussion to be really valued? Right? So, so will the work change the way it looks? Yes, a lot of grunt work will go away, and the bar on the insights and the quality of answer you get will continue to go up. So that's how I would look at the day-to-day life.
Okay. And how would that affect the hiring of, again, people straight out of undergrad or grad as such? Do you see that getting affected majorly?
I would say, in terms of numbers, not at all. In terms of
Okay.
profiles, I would say probably the percentage of people who come with data science and the whole agentics kind of background will increase, because we will be building these things to support our consultants, right? So that
Okay.
hiring will go up probably. The third is the hiring around our knowledge centers or research centers, right, which is the grunt work as I was talking about, will
Ah,
most likely come down,
okay.
right? So that's how I would. So the core consultants, no change. Hiring going up for all these, uh, I could say, techies with business understanding and the data science, data engineering background, and business understanding will go up, and the basic research stuff will go down. That's how I would expect the hiring kind of landscape to change.
Got it. I know we have like an interesting conversation going on, but like in terms of time check, we are at 12:30. But Anirudh, if you could stay on for maybe few more minutes, I would want to cover at least two important questions and even to the audience as well. If you're okay staying over. Okay, so we have like majority of the attenders still around. So maybe I'll move on to my next question, which is what is the common misconception or myth about this career, which you might have like commonly encountered again when you are hiring, building a team, or what kind of preconceived notions are there?
I don't think there are a lot of myths, by the way. By the
Okay.
time people get to this profession, they have spoken to a lot of people and so on. So they're not big myths, but I would
Okay.
say people still underestimate the effort that is required to get to a distinctive answer, which the clients can't get to on their own, right? So sometimes people underestimate the long hours, for example. So particularly people who come, see, when young graduates come out of college and they join, they are not influenced by anything. They have not seen different ways of working. So they get settled very easily. We have seen particularly people who come after 5 years or 10 years of experience in different industries and then join here, they have a bit of a root shock, right? Because suddenly, instead of a 9 to 5 job, they are doing like a 9 to 9 job, or you're always thinking of a problem. Your client calls you, then you take the call, right? This is exactly like a doctor. I often say doctor or a lawyer, right? If your client calls you and says, "I have a problem, I am breathless, or I have a high fever," you attend. You don't say, "Sorry, get lost. I can't take care of you because it's
Mm.
9 p.m. or whatever," right? So people sometimes underestimate what it really means to be a client service industry. So you are serving your clients and their needs, right? So that's one thing I would say people underestimate. Second thing, people kind of get it a little bit wrong, I would say, is to say I'll not take care of my health, right? I've seen a lot of people who will get so engrossed with traveling and meeting clients and so on, and not taking care of their health and burning out, and then saying, okay, I have to leave the profession because I'm not able, or I balance my personal priorities. So
Mm.
you have to for your health, you have to make time for your personal priorities. Design, you have to do it, right? So if you come in with balanced mindset that I have to take care of my clients and I have to take care of myself, and by taking care of myself, I actually am taking better care of my clients as well. Then that creates the right balance, and I've seen that is how people have succeeded over long term. Otherwise, people tend to stay around for like 2, 3 years, 4 years, gain some experience, and say, okay, this is getting too tough, and I want to move on. Right. So I would say those are the kind of challenges, and little bit of not being clear on how to both prioritize clients as well as prioritize yourself and your personal commitments. That being mindful and being thoughtful about it is very important.
Great. I think that's kind of a great, busting the myth as well as giving some advice there per se. But given you touched upon the challenge of long hours, and of course, there will be people for all different reasons, they might want to really call it a day for this profession and they would want to move to something else. So,
Yeah.
what other career options they have if they have been in a management consulting, say for a reasonable period, say 5 to 8 years
Or
or
more,
a
right? Yeah.
decade as such, right? So where else they can really move per se within the corporate realm?
There are lots of options, right? And one other thing I would highlight before I answer that is, in a management consulting firm like McKinsey or others, you grow very fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are a junior consultant for 2 years, then you're a senior consultant for 2 years, then you're a manager for 2 years, then you are a junior partner for 2 years, and then you're a partner. So within 8 years, you're a partner. Versus, let's say, you look at any other industry where it from where you start. Let's say you start as a software developer in Adobe or Oracle, where I was, to the head of the department, you take probably 20 years to get there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you are getting to a partner in 8 years. So your career trajectory is super fast. Typically, the
Okay.
rule of thumb I use is in younger tenure, you are growing 2x faster than
Okay.
other industries. And in senior tenure, which is let's first 5 years, you're growing 2x faster. In the next
Mhm.
5 years, the 5 to 10 years, you're growing 3x faster.
Amazing. Okay.
Right. So that is the speed at which you're growing. So let's say you are a manager at McKinsey and you want to leave. Um, you could actually go and become a head of strategy directly of a mid-sized company, not a large company. Maybe for a large company, you need to leave as a partner. So let's say if you were to go and uh, actually, I can give you an example. One of my colleagues, she was a little senior to me. Um, she was an associate partner or a junior partner at McKinsey when I was a manager. So she was 2 or 3 years senior to me. And
Okay.
then she left and joined the Mahindra Group. as their head of strategy. And then after that, she was leading that group for like some 5 years or so, and now she heads one of their businesses, their last mile mobility business. She's the CEO of that, right? So that's one example. So to the question of what are the avenues of exit, I would say many exits. You could go into the industry, right? You could go into the industry as a head of strategy, or head of transformation, or if you're a little more senior, you could just go directly join as a head of business, and have the end-to-end responsibility for a business, right? And then slowly you could grow and become the CEO of that company. So that's one path you could take. Second path you could take is you could go into private equity. Private equity guys are always looking for people who are their operating partners, as they call it. So people who can drive companies that they invested in. So you could help them drive transformation, drive growth in the companies that they invested in, and that's the avenue. Third avenue could be you could go into startups, right? A lot of startups are looking for people who can roll up their sleeves and get work done, and nobody is more versatile as a consultant, right? Because you've seen HR, you have seen strategy, you have seen operations, you have seen everything else. So you could really come in and work with the founders, or like next to the founders, to kind of build the business out. And a lot of people from consulting have gone to startups. By the way, a lot of people from startups have also come back to consulting because they said half of the startups go bust, right? So that's okay. But you at least learned a new skill, right? You went, you experimented with different things, and you did different things. So that's fantastic. So a lot of avenues of exit. And in fact, one of the things I had heard when I was in my B school is that there are two firms, and now maybe more. There are firms which are like what we call golden dust on your resume. One is Goldman Sachs and the other is McKinsey.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs comes to investment banking, and McKinsey comes to management consulting. Those are the kind of firms, if you get to go, you would have all possible exits that you could want to explore.
Right. Great. Thank you so much for this, Anirudh. And maybe we can just close with any kind of closing remarks if you would have for, again, primarily students here, any kind of advice you would want to give if they are considering this profession.
Um, I would say, so we have covered most of the things, and by the way, thank you for so many good questions. I would say one, it's a great profession, very rewarding, in multiple ways, as we discussed earlier. But it's also demanding, right? So if cracking tough problems, meeting clients, meeting new people, and all excites you, then this is definitely a profession for you. If you enjoy traveling the world, then this is a profession for you. If you're looking to grow fast, this is a profession for you. But what it does take a lot from you, right? So it's demanding. It's long hours. You're sometimes away from your family for long durations, and so on and so forth. So those are the cons as well. So keep that in mind as you're evaluating all of these. And the last thing I would say is, doesn't so as I said earlier, while of course an MBA gives you the right ingredients to be successful in this profession, but all people can be successful in this profession. What you need to keep in mind is that wherever you are the best of who you are, right? You're really excelling in the space you are. So if you are doing BA in political science, are you completely rocking it and scoring 99 or 98 percentiles and so on and so forth? Then it will be very easy for you to get into consulting. So if you're doing something else, equally the same thing, right? So if you do whatever you feel like doing, but really, really be excellent at it.
Thank you so much, Anirudh. I'm sure like these are words of wisdom, and this should resonate with majority of the students out here. And I particularly enjoyed this conversation. I myself learned a lot. So thank you so much for taking out time today, Anirudh. I know how busy it could get for you, but still, in a way, like you are kind of trying to help the students take an informed decision. So giving it back to the community as well. So thank you so much for that.
Very happy to do that. And a lot of good questions, Survi. Thank you for that. And I hope this session was helpful for everyone.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sure it is helpful, and I've already got some good feedback. I'll share that with you. And to our audience and participants, thank you once again. And we will keep bringing such informative sessions to you so that, again, the goal is that you make an informed decision. There is no path which is an easy path. It's just that if you know it a little bit, you can prepare yourself better. With that, have a good rest of your Sunday, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.